Welcome to the Golden Seams, where we, Gabe and Michae, your hosts, invite you to join us on a transformative journey of self-discovery and personal growth. Our podcast is all about helping you uncover your authentic self, find your true calling, and create prosperity in alignment with your deepest values and aspirations.
We're embarking on the realm of self-love and self-worth, guided by the illuminating wisdom of Brené Brown's The Gifts of Imperfection. Prepare to challenge societal expectations and embrace your authentic self as we delve into this groundbreaking work that has touched millions of lives worldwide. Through Brown's expertise for wholehearted living, we'll discover together how to let go of who we think we're supposed to be and embrace who we truly are.
Now, let's get into wholeheartedness.
The idea that we can choose authenticity makes most of us feel both hopeful and exhausted. We feel hopeful because being real is something we value. Most of us are drawn to warm, down-to-earth, honest people, and we aspire to be like that in our own lives. We feel exhausted because without even giving it too much thought, most of us know that choosing authenticity in a culture that dictates everything from how much we're supposed to weigh to what our houses are supposed to look like is a huge undertaking. Choosing authenticity is not an easy choice. E. Cummings wrote, "To be nobody but yourself in a world which is doing its best, night and day, to make you everybody but yourself means to fight the hardest battle which any human being can fight and never stop fighting. Staying real is one of the most courageous battles that we'll ever fight." That's from Brené Brown's The Gifts of Imperfection, Guidepost 1, Cultivating Authenticity, Letting Go of What People Think. In this episode, Gabe and I are going to be discussing authenticity, stepping into it, what does it take, and what does Brené Brown suggest? What has she learned about stepping into authenticity?
Often people attempt to live their lives backwards. They try to have more things or more money in order to do more of what they want so that they will be happier. The way it actually works is the reverse. You must first be who you really are, then do what you really need to do in order to have what you want, by Margaret Young.
This takes me back to our previous discussion about the ladder against the wrong wall, working outside in versus inside out.
Yeah.
Brené goes on to say, "I realized that like many desirable ways of being, authenticity is not something we have or don't have. It's a practice, a conscious choice of how we want to live. Authenticity is a collection of choices that we have to make every day. It's about the choice to show up and be real, the choice to be honest, the choice to let our true selves be seen." What I gathered, the biggest piece in this section and understanding what Brené and her research revealed is authenticity is a choice, a decision, it's a behavior led by our thoughts that become our habits, but it is always an ongoing process.
Brené defines authenticity as the daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are. Choosing authenticity means cultivating the courage to be imperfect, to set boundaries, and to allow ourselves to be vulnerable. Exercising the compassion that comes from knowing that we are all made of strength and struggle, and nurturing the connection and sense of belonging that can only happen when we believe we are enough.
Listening to choosing authenticity, what does it mean to be imperfect to you, Gabe?
Well, the more I think about imperfection, the way I relate to it seems to be a measure of myself against external metrics, either given to me explicitly by somebody or implied by my environment. I see myself often chasing it as a way to appease the feelings of not belonging, or if I'm feeling anxious, I'll want to understand context better, but it's always this measuring myself externally. That's what imperfection feels like to me. It's when I start getting into this comparison mode.
I agree with that. Similarly, for me, imperfection is about letting go, but then recognizing my needs, the boundaries,
Right.
and in that letting go, allowing myself to actually feel my emotions. There's the vulnerability.
Mm.
I couldn't do that before. I was so used to robotically putting myself through a day of what had to be done and doing it very, very well so that I was, quote, valuable. Valuable at my job, valuable in my life, valuable to my family, valuable in my relationships, to the point of overgiving to exhaustion.
Mm.
Letting go of that and creating boundaries really shifted my life. Being imperfect to me was no longer, similar to what you're saying, letting myself be dictated by what the world is telling me.
It's the two sides that there's what makes me feel imperfect, and then grappling with is perfect possible if we're looking through limited eyes, through the limited awareness that we have. We're on this process of self discovery, self development, understanding, growing. The reality of it is that we're still developing the awarenesses.
I think that we've already developed all of that. We're here to remember. We're just experiencing and remembering and understanding. The idea of perfection is in the experience. It's
Ex-
a perfect experience for what we need to understand.
yes. It almost is this mental game of what am I projecting on to reality or myself or a moment that is creating this sense of something is wrong within my limited point of view.
The other thing, looking at choosing authenticity, made me wonder about how can I exercise compassion. She lists it here as knowing that we are all made of strength and struggle, but in that moment, sometimes it's difficult to see someone's overreacting and we don't have the diagnosis that they have PTSD or something else, or
Yeah.
somebody has a repetitive pattern in their behavior that's constantly disappointing or alarming, and you have a relationship with that person in your life, it gets more challenging to exercise compassion. I went back to the things that Maria shared with us about prepping for my day, about creating that foundation for myself.
The compassion piece is a big deal to me in the sense of in the past, I've had a different point of view than some of the people I've talked to about it, where some people seem to believe that compassion is inherently action based, doing something to help. Compassion, I understand it better in the sense of seeing everything as it should be. At first, identifying my needs, right? Like you're talking about compassion with yourself to set boundaries, to create the space that you need. I think that that's compassion. The awareness around needs, expanding that to the world around us and to everybody around us and how complex life is. A lot of times I would make assumptions about trying to be compassionate and help, and what I thought was being compassionate sometimes would be overstepping, well intended but poorly executed on my part. Compassion has become this idea of, like you said, letting go and acceptance for myself, for my needs, whatever they are, however they show up, extending that over to those around me as well, as best as I can.
In her third point, believing that we are enough, what does that mean in real terms? To believe that we are enough. What does that look like for you if you actually truly believe that?
Well, I think it's far from my baseline. I'm sitting here trying to imagine. This is something I still work on a lot within myself. The sense of worthiness is something that is constantly having to be brought to the forefront of my awareness. I'm not sure.
For
Probably a lot
me,
of peace.
for me, it in real terms meant incorporating the play. It
Hmm.
meant in real terms telling myself this is a good thing to write a list of things that I'm grateful for each day, to feel gratitude, and also to know I can show up in different ways, but I get to choose how I show up. I had to almost take back my power in a certain way, almost going back to that exercising analogy. Do you exercise for yourself or for everybody
Hmm.
else and how you want to look to them? I always want to show up in a way that I can live with myself later. It sort of has this ebb and flow to it.
Hmm.
How I present myself, how I go about my day, how I deal with other people. I may have an end goal in mind with what I have to accomplish or what I have to do, but I decide how I want that to look in the part that's me. Authenticity demands wholehearted living and loving, even when it's hard, even when we're wrestling with the shame and fear of not being good enough, and especially when the joy is so intense that we're afraid to let ourselves feel it. Mindfully practicing authenticity during our most soul searching struggles is how we invite grace, gratitude, and joy into our lives. Brené shares that with us. It takes me into that space, that fear of intense joy. I can remember when I'd have a good day, I would try to brace myself for the bad until I began to realize that by setting boundaries, even habits and rituals that empowered me with others and myself, that I started having more good days than bad. And then that becomes your flow. That was
Hmm.
my experience with that.
It works a lot like momentum, it feels like. Brené says that the guideposts are interconnected but also work individually. When we choose to be true to ourselves, the people around us will struggle to make sense of how and why we are changing. Partners and children might feel fearful and unsure about the changes they're seeing. Friends and family may worry about how our authenticity practice will affect them in our relationships with them. Some will find inspiration in our new commitment. Others may perceive that we're changing too much, maybe even abandoning them or holding up an uncomfortable mirror. It's not so much the act of authenticity that challenges the status quo. I think of it as the audacity of authenticity. Wow, that part completely highlights this feeling that I have around the ideas of perfection and imperfection being the byproducts of obligations or implied expectations through upbringing, government, religion, whatever system of authority. There seems to be implied rules and conditional acceptance or love that's distributed if you want to be a part of whatever group or structure.
When we choose to be true to ourselves, the audacity of authenticity, it takes me to Melissa Urban's boundaries, how you can come off looking selfish when you start stating boundaries, even though they're based on your needs. Brené goes into also, it may appear as we are being selfish or self focused or narcissistic or self indulgent. I have realized since learning to set boundaries that sometimes when I set a boundary with someone, no matter how small it is, for example, I went to the dentist to have a cleaning and I said to the narcissist, I said to the hygienist, the filling that they had done for me needed to be replaced because there was something wrong with it and it had just been done 4 months ago. I could tell she was agitated that I had spoken up that I needed this replaced because I added in, I said, and I don't feel that I should pay for it. I saw this ire come up in her that I said that. And as she cleaned my teeth, she kept spraying water on my face and doing all these things. The dentist happened to walk past in the hallway. She told the dentist what I had said, and the dentist agreed that they should replace it. What was interesting to me, once the hygienist realized the dentist agreed with me, she stopped all of these passive aggressive behaviors towards me immediately.
Hmm.
I knew because of all the work that I had done, setting a boundary and setting boundaries, that this was outside of her comfort zone, that I was speaking up, saying, this is what I expect, these are my needs. I wasn't mean to her when I said it. I simply pointed it out and said, and I don't feel that I should pay for this because it was just done. Her reaction until she received almost permission from a higher authority that I was in the right in my
Hmm.
request. But I knew that this made her uncomfortable, that I spoke up for myself. It was because I was a woman, and I could tell based on other things and other comments that she had made to me throughout. It became very clear to me. It was interesting watching this play out.
You did such a great job kindly communicating your needs and going in there with an objective, taking care of it the way you needed to. The reaction might indicate that she's been shamed out of being able to speak up for her needs in some place in the past. And it
Yes,
just, she's just infuriated. How dare you? I
yes.
can't. How dare you do that? It maybe is an unconscious process until the validation from her boss or the dentist came in and changed her demeanor. That's bizarre. I mean, I can think of in my own life how many ways I have the same struggles with speaking up, speaking out, and communicating my own needs. And then I see this overlay of what women are facing on the planet right now and have always faced, and other minority groups. And I can't imagine how much more complex that must be to face.
It's very true. And that was exactly what happened. I realized she had been reared in that same upbringing that I had been reared in. A woman is not supposed to be speaking up and saying, this is what I need done. You're not supposed to be in this position of authority. It was very, very clear to me. If I hadn't seen it so much and then recognized it in my own upbringing, where it stems from, believe me, her and I would have had more than a few little words. Renee talks about that when she first started stepping into her authenticity, her worthiness, she had to really navigate this in her mind. She said, voices can be loud and unrelenting. What if I think I'm enough, but others don't? What if I let my imperfect self be seen and known and nobody likes what they see? What if my friends, family, coworkers like the perfect me better? You know, the one who takes care of everything and everyone. That space of what we've been socialized to be, belonging versus fitting in,
Hmm.
conformed into because that's who they could live with versus who we could live with.
Right. Which one we prioritize? Wow. Brené says sometimes when we push the system, it pushes back. The pushback can be everything from eye rolls and whispers to relationship struggles and feelings of isolation. There can also be cruel and shaming responses to our authentic voices. In my research on authenticity and shame, I found that speaking out is a major shame trigger for women and people who are striving to meet cultural norms around femininity. Here's how the research participants described the struggle to be authentic. Don't make people feel uncomfortable, but be honest. Don't upset anyone or hurt anyone's feelings, but say what's on your mind. Sound informed and educated, but not like a know-it-all. Don't say anything unpopular or controversial, but have the courage to disagree with the crowd.
Different comments that people made to me in my family growing up. My mother would say things to me such as, other families may do that, we do not. My parents had the coat of arms hanging in the front entry. Before I would go out, my mother would say, remember the family. I can remember dealing with significant issues, pivotal turning points in my career. A member of my family, when I was dealing with some very serious moral issues with a company that was very much in the wrong, getting a phone call from another member of my family in business saying to me, don't ruin it for the rest of us. It's crazy how when you step into or step out of burying everything, brushing everything under the rug, how no one really likes when you upset the apple cart.
Hmm.
When you start stepping into your own power or you start stepping up or speaking up, there are all these double standards. Well, no, we don't agree with that, but don't ruin it for the rest of us.
Hmm.
That's wrong.
Yeah.
Well, did you have to say it like that? There's really no good way sometimes to say things, especially when you're calling somebody out on things.
It's interesting. When I was reading these bullets, I was thinking, what if the intention was you just switch it? Be honest and address if you made people uncomfortable. Say what's on your mind, and if you upset anybody or hurt anybody's feelings, talk with them and acknowledge it. If you switch the orders of those first two, where the priority is honesty, and then you stay present and empathetic and kind enough to acknowledge discomfort, but you prioritize your feelings, is that bad?
It's great.
Sometimes people can come in work environments, they have status or all this other stuff that can create blocks in our minds from practicing this. What if we're so scared of making someone uncomfortable that we miss an opportunity to be honest? I feel like that's a worse miss than being honest and then acknowledging the discomfort from the truth. Because we can quickly get deluded into illusions if we don't prioritize.
Very much goes back to what can you live with?
Hmm. Yeah.
And I'm talking end of your life, looking back, accountability. That's sort of where I'm going with that.
Yeah. Elevate your journey of self-discovery and personal growth with our exclusive Patreon offerings at the Golden Seams. Our carefully crafted content includes powerful tools designed to support you on your path to wholehearted living. Immerse yourself in our transformative deep meditation and subliminal audio sessions, infused with Solfeggio frequencies and binaural beats, to naturally integrate and foster authentic living. Complement your practice with our custom-designed mandala, a visual manifestation tool to reinforce your intentions. All of our offerings are Reiki infused by Michae, a Reiki master, providing an extra layer of energetic support. This synergistic combination of audios and visual aids works with your subconscious mind to accelerate growth, amplify manifestation abilities, and effortlessly integrate self-love and wholehearted living into every aspect of your life. Join us on Patreon to unlock these powerful resources and step into your true magnificent self.
Brené also shares about the research that came forward about a conflict between our cultural gender expectations. For example, being feminine includes thin, nice, and modest. She says that means if we want to play it totally safe, we have to be willing to stay as small, quiet, and attractive as possible. The attributes associated with masculinity that were identified as being important were emotional control, primacy of work, control over women, and pursuit of status. That means if complying with masculine norms is important to us and we want to play it safe, we must stop feeling, start earning, and give up on meaningful connection. That phrase, well behaved women seldom make history, makes me think of settling. To have to choose between playing it safe and staying small and quiet and attractive versus being who you are as a woman. But on the masculine side of it, having control over women, to me, that results in loneliness. That primacy of work creates a disconnection from family, friends, from joy, and the pursuit of status results in it being difficult to know why a woman is with you if she hasn't been there all along as you were building your status. And I have clients where we have had to work through these things and work on these different things because they have built entire careers and lives, and then they get to retirement age and discover they have no connection with their families. They built this entire career business company very successfully, and they discover their families have gone on and led completely separate lives from them, except for when they'd show up on Sundays or something like that. It's very painful, this disconnection.
With the masculine stuff, it seems like a recipe for robbing yourself of any genuine relationships. If the emotional
Yes.
control is the priority, you're not emoting and you're not presenting yourself authentically enough for people to connect to and actually be able to cultivate those kinds of relationships. And I think it's easy and common for men to get stuck in that repression and call it control and take pride in it.
Absolutely. On the feminine side of that, there's a lot of space in between having to disappear, be small and quiet, and always attractive, thin, nice, modest, whatever it is, and having to be rebellious and angry. There's a
Right.
It's ridiculous. That's a Grand Canyon sized space of options between women given the opportunity could create and cultivate and have.
There's a good amount of overlap in that canyon, that part of the spectrum for both men and women. Maybe a certain part of the in between are actually the same and similar and not so much conditioned into social constructs. Even this thing of emotional control, primacy, but control over women, how is that an aspect of masculinity in the sense of ownership of oneself, of how you're showing up? I was born in Brazil and I moved to the US when I was 4. There are moments in my life where I reflect, become critical. I'm like, oh, I'm not this enough, I'm not that, I'm not American enough, I'm not Brazilian enough. And then I'm in my mind having to remind myself that there is no prerequisite to what that is. I'm determining what it is because that's what I am. And based on how I live, that'll be what it is for me because I can't change who I am. And I think that this is the same thing too. We're born certain ways, and then all these conditionings and expectations and rules are put onto us, and they become completely restricting of our, like you said, joy, ability to feel and enjoy life, fluidity of emotion and freedom, ultimately.
The challenge comes in, am I checking in with society? Am I checking in with the tribe? Or am I checking in with myself?
Yes.
Brené goes on and she says, the thing is, authenticity isn't always the safe option. Sometimes choosing being real over being liked is all about playing it unsafe. It means stepping out of our comfort zone. It's easy to get knocked around when you're wandering through new territory. It's easy to attack and criticize someone while they are risk taking, voicing an unpopular opinion, or sharing a new creation with the world or trying something new that they haven't quite mastered. Cruelty is cheap, easy, and rampant. It's also chicken shit, especially when you attack and criticize anonymously, like technology allows so many people to do these days.
I have this thought constantly about the internet. I kind of abstain from it. It was striking when I saw it everywhere. I think that this is demonstrable, and you can go online and see this. Vulnerability and vulgarity coexist in anonymity. As soon as you give a human the ability to wear a mask, it's like this caricature version of either overly vulnerable, feeling safe enough to share because it's not connected to you, and then this ability to be vulgar and vile towards everybody and anyone, because again, the accountability isn't there. It's interesting how both of those extreme and opposite ends of that spectrum get inflamed when we put this layer of detaching from self, and cruelty is cheap.
That correlation is fascinating because I think we all do The attack and criticize, not even knowing we're doing it when someone else is taking a risk.
Mm,
We cloak it in a lot of different ways, even unintentionally, even if
mm,
we're doing it in a teasing way. Oh, hey, saw your whatever.
mm.
We do this, but maybe it's about time we all start stepping back and taking another look in a lot of ways, not just with ourselves, but with each other and going, you know what? I think it's okay that you color outside the lines every single time you color.
I love that about you.
I love that about you. Tell me about that. I once had a friend, and she was really amazing with people. And I asked her where it originated from, and she said that she had learned at a very young age that if she didn't like somebody, it was because she didn't understand them.
Wow, that's so profound.
Yes.
Brené says cruelty always hurts, even if the criticisms are untrue. When we go against the grain and put ourselves and our work out in the world, some people will feel threatened, and they will go after what hurts the most. The problem is that when we don't care at all what people think, and we're immune to hurt, we're also ineffective at connecting. Courage is telling our story, not being immune to criticism. Staying vulnerable is a risk we have to take if we want to experience connection. There's risk involved in putting your true self out in the world, but I believe there's even more risk in hiding yourself and your gifts from the world. Our unexpressed ideas, opinions, and contributions just don't go away. They fester and eat away at our worthiness. Caution: if you trade in your authenticity for being liked, you may experience the following. Enjoyed what you heard? There's more to explore. For full-length discussions, exclusive content, and easy-to-use tools designed to effortlessly support your authentic transformation, subscribe to our Patreon, The Golden Seams. Don't miss out. We welcome you to join our growing community and dive deeper into the topics you love. Experience the Golden Seams on Patreon and unlock the complete experience for yourself now.
We're truly grateful for your presence and participation in this journey of self discovery and personal growth. Remember, your path to authenticity and prosperity is unique, and we're honored to be a part of it. If you found value in today's episode, we invite you to like, subscribe, and share it with others who might benefit. Until next time, embrace your imperfections and let them be your greatest gifts.
This is Gabe and Michae signing off from the Golden Seams. May you discover the courage to be vulnerable, the compassion to love yourself, and the wisdom to live wholeheartedly. May your path be golden as you find the strength to mend and beautify the broken parts of your life, weaving golden threads through the fabric of your authentic self, just like the art of kintsugi. We'll see you in our next episode.